Hey everybody, it's Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Welcome back to my channel. I am back to do another ink exploration of all of my blue inks. Let's get started. Okay, so I will be swatching in my Hobonichi A5 notebook with 52 GSM Tomoe River paper. I will be swatching with my Speedball B-nib in the B0 size, and then I will also be writing with my Kakimori stainless steel nib, and these are on my River City Penco nib holders. So which one am I going to do first? The first ink I'm going to swatch is actually a recent ink that I received at the Chicago Pen Show. It is Amario Stationery Blue Suntan. And I do have this in a pen actually, but that is coming for 15 inks, 30 days in June. And I am excited about these. I love the kind of grayish blue inks. I think they're really fantastic, although you do have to find a balance between the inks that are not too light but also not too dry, and I think this one is actually a really good one. So this is Amario Stationery Blue Suntan, and just to look at that, I'll do one quick line width here. Whoop. Oh, that's lovely. I love that shade of blue. So that is Amario Blue Suntan. The next one is Anderillium Banded King Shoemaker Butterfly Blue. Sorry, I'm apologizing for my voice here because my throat has not been great for the last week, and yeah, it seems to be catching up to me. So, and I really like this blue. I didn't think it was one that I would like, but I really enjoy that. I don't necessarily like blues that are too dark, almost leaning black. I like the ones that you can tell that it is blue. Oops. So this is Anderillium. And this one is going to take me a while to write. So this is Banded King. Oops. Shoemaker. Butterfly. Blue. And I'm actually just going to leave that. And then do the line width here. Like, look at that. How spectacular is that? I really love the way that that blue just settles like that. It's lovely and really beautiful in a pen. So, Anderillium, Banded King, Shoemaker, Butterfly Blue. The next ink is a sample from Pen Friend Cat, and it is Colorverse Icy Moon. And you can already see that there's going to be a lovely amount of shimmer in there. And I actually used this my gosh, my brain. I used this ink a little while ago, and it was stunning. I like that it's actually very similar in tone to the grayish blue of Blue Suntan. It's just that bit darker, but then it has that shimmer that just makes it just that little bit extra. I really like that. So this is Colorverse Icy Moon, and I do believe that, like, I think that Colorverse do their shimmers really well. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Once again, Colorverse Icy Moon. The next one by Colorverse is a collaboration with Goulet Pens. It is Witch by Starlight, and I think this was this came out at about the same time Goulet did their exclusive sailor pen, but don't quote me on that. So this one looks like it's a darker blue with a bit of a shimmer. Oh, that's lovely. Although, me personally, I don't lean towards the darker blues. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just personal taste. For me, the darker blues that lean more toward like the black aren't necessarily my thing. Colorverse. But I think that's like with anything in life, we all have our preferences. And for me, I like the blues like the Banded King Shoemaker Butterfly or the Blue Suntan. Well, funny enough, when I was growing up, blue was my favorite color, and then I switched over to green in high school. But now with inks, I love browns and pinks, like who knew? So that is Colorverse Witch by Starlight, and you can see the silver shimmer in there, which makes it really pretty. The next ink is by Diamine, and it is Blue Peppermint. Thanks again to Kat for sending me so many blues, because I basically said that blues are something that I don't have a lot of in my collection. And so far, as I'm doing these different color families, blue is the one that I have the most of. Oops, I'm doing it in the wrong order. So this is Diamine, Blue Peppermint. I was supposed to do the Speedball bee nib first. That's okay. Just look at the way that, oh, look at that, how bright and fun and lovely that is. Let's do the Speedball bee nib. Oops. Making sure I get enough. Oh, fantastic. I really like that. And also I like shimmer that's not your usual or typical silver or gold. I like that it's a blue shimmer. It just makes it gives it a little bit more in terms of color. It leans a little bit more towards the teal or turquoise than blue. So that is Diamine Blue Peppermint. Next we have Diamine Soft Mint, and some would probably call this more turquoise. There's some that would probably belong in a couple of categories, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, actually, when I compare this to the rest, this looks green compared to the rest, but that's okay. So this one is actually in a pen right now. What am I doing? Diamine. And I've been using this in my Narwhal Turquoise Dream, and it's been a really, really lovely writing experience with that. Spoiler alert. See? The thing is, when this is paired or categorized with other blues, it looks more green. But then if you put it with green, it looks more blue. So you never know. So that is Diamine Soft Mint. Next in the Diamine line, we have Celadon Cat. And this was a Reddit, or one of the Reddit inks. Was it from 2023? I think it's 2023. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I really like this one because of the blue-gray tones to it. Now, I thought it looked really similar to Blue Suntan or vice versa, but Blue Suntan is leaning more blue, whereas this I feel like has more greeny gray tones to it. So Diamine Celadon Cat. Some people find this ink a bit too light, but I actually really like it, even in a fine or an extra fine nib. It's been one of those, I guess, sleeper favorites. So that is Diamine Celadon Cat. Next, we have Ferris Wheel Press Storied Blue, and I'm glad that I'm swatching this next to Diamine Celadon Cat because I think the two are very similar, but I also could be wrong. Yeah, this one is a little bit more blue. This one I feel like is more similar to Amario Stationery Blue Suntan, whereas Celadon Cat has more of like a, you can kind of see it here, kind of yellow, grayish tones to that. But I do like the bluish grays. There's something about that that really speaks to me. But I sometimes find Ferris Wheel Press inks a little dry, but this one actually isn't too bad. And what I like about doing these ink explorations is it's reminding me about the inks that I still have that I haven't used. Well, I have used them, but I haven't used them in a while, and I really should. I really like that one. And I'm glad that I've swatched them together because Diamine Celadon Cat feels like it has more chroma shading properties than Storied Blue. It's got great shading, but not the complexity of Celadon Cat. So that is Ferris Wheel Press Storied Blue. The next Ferris Wheel Press ink is Stroke of Midnight, and it is in a beautiful bottle. I received this from a friend back at the San Francisco Pen Show in August. And this is one of those inks that's a darker ink that I feel like could be more professional. Oh, I didn't shake it, or I didn't agitate it. Hold on. This is a darker blue black. that has a little bit of shimmer. One really good, I think, for winter or for the new year, Stroke of Midnight. I really do like the way that Ferris will Press do their shimmer inks. I do have a few of them in my collection, and they seem to work really well in my fine and extra fine nibs. Stroke of Midnight. And then let's look at the swatch here. Oh, lovely. You can see the little bit of shimmer here. I feel like it's very similar, and I'll bring this down a bit, very similar to Witch by Starlight. Although this one is leaning more purple, this one is definitely more blue-black. So that is Ferris Wheel Press, Stroke of Midnight. The next blue ink is another one sent by Cat. It is Jacurbon Cayenite de Nepal, another shimmer ink. I really need to put this one in a pen because it's pretty. Really pretty, but I feel like it's more of a wintry type of ink. And I think I feel that way about a lot of blues, except for those grayish blue ones. These ones are very winter. Ooh, I put a lot on there. And that's definitely a more, I say royal blue, but I'm really bad at the different tones of blue here. So this is Jacurbon. Oops, very wet coming off of that nib. And Cayenite, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, de Nepal. Oh my gosh, and I got a ton on my finger. Dang it. There we go. Really pretty ink. So, Jacurbon Cayenite de Nepal, that is now also on my finger. I guess it wouldn't be an inking video if I didn't have some ink on my fingers, right? All right, the next ink here is Narwhal Atlantic Blue. And I've tried this before, I think. Can't remember if I have or not. I feel like I have tried a Narwhal ink, but I cannot remember for the life of me. Ooh, so yeah, this one is again in more of like the teal turquoise family. But then again, if you put it with all of the greens, for example, it would look more blue. Now, I didn't do a separate video of all my teals and turquoises because when I actually looked at them, I think there were maybe, well, there's some that can be categorized. I mean, there's 3 in this video already, and I feel like maybe I have another 2 or 3, and I don't know if that would be enough for a whole video. Oh, I forgot to do the line width. Oh yeah, that's lovely. That reminds me kind of like the base of, and again, probably correct me if I'm wrong, the base of Emerald de Chauvoir. But again, I don't have that ink on me, so I wouldn't know. And actually, now that the other inks are drying, you can see a little bit of red sheen around the Stroke of Midnight, but also there's a little bit of red sheen coming from Cayenite de Nepal as well. And normally, when you see sheen with blue inks, it normally is kind of a reddish sheen. I don't normally go for sheens personally, just because of my light sensitivity. But anyway, that is Narwhal Explorer Atlantic Blue. The next ink is one that I got from the Pelican Hub in September of 2024. It is the Ink of the Year Golden Lapis. I really like this one because it's not an ink that I would normally go for. And the one from the year before, Rose Quartz, was okay. This one is just so interesting. I mean, even if you look at that, like, look at the shimmer in that. I've only used this in a pen, once, but it's such an interesting ink. There is a bit of sheen on it, and you can actually see this in the bottle, like there's a bit of sheen around the edges there. But it's a fantastic ink. Almost looks surreal. Oh, my little water jar is all shades of blue. So this is Pelican, Adelstein, Golden, Lapis. And it's got like this gold shimmer and really, really pretty. I really like this one. And I didn't think I would like blues, but I really like this one. I like the lighter tone of that blue. I like that you can tell that it's blue. And I don't think it actually has, there's a tiny bit of sheen, but not enough to make me shy away from this ink. So, Pelican, Adelstein, Golden Lapis. The next ink was an ink sent by Pen Friend S. It is Penonia Lights of Niagara, and this was from the Scriptus pen show in 2023. Now, I live in Alberta, and even flying to Toronto can get so expensive. Now, this one looks like it could be a blurple rather than a blue. Sorry for my camera there. But it's really pretty. The shimmer actually behaves really well. Penonia. And what did I call it? Lights of Niagara. Actually, the last time I was at Niagara Falls was back in September. And my favorite time of day going to Niagara Falls was actually first thing in the morning before there were any crowds at all. My dad, my brother and sister and I, we would walk from our Airbnb and then go walk along the falls and then do a loop back to our Airbnb, which was around 4 or 5 kilometers. And I loved how quiet it was in the morning. But then, seriously, about 2-3 hours later, the whole, I say strip, but that whole area was just packed with tourists. And we're tourists, but anyway, other story. But I love the blue shimmer in here. And when it first goes down, it does look a little purple, but that blue shimmer just pushes it to that blue. So that is Penonia Lights of Niagara. Next, we have one of the first ink bottles that I ever purchased, but I don't actually ink my pens with these anymore. This is Pilot Roshuku Shinaai. This ink is actually used by my husband. Ugh. He's the one who really likes this blue-black, and I keep it in my collection for him. So technically it's my ink, but he's the one who uses it. I'm not always a fan of the blue black, maybe because it just reminds me too much of university. But for my husband, he loves it. He likes to journal with it, and that's what he has in his Pilot Metropolitan, Pilot Roshuku. And to me, when I'm writing with it with a fine or an extra fine nib, it just looks like it's black rather than blue to me. And I want to write with an ink that looks like the color that I think it should be. I mean, in the swatches, it looks great, and it's got a little bit of red sheen around there as well. But again, with writing, it looks, to me, really dark. So that is Pilot Roshuku Shinaai. The next ink is Pilot Roshuku Sukio. And this one I like better than Shinaai. I don't know why. Probably because it is a lighter blue, and you can tell it's blue even when you're writing with a fine or an extra fine nib. Oh, I really like that. You can tell the difference between the tone of the two. And also this one has a lot more sheen. And sheen for me, I hate saying it, but sheen for me is the kind of deal breaker with inks. So this is Highlighter Roshuku. And this is also an ink that I use for testing new pens as well. Because if I'm having an issue with a pen or a nib, I'll put Sukio in it, and normally it's an ink that can fix any issues. See, look at how, I don't know, I just like it that much better than Shinaai. You can tell there's a difference in tone. It almost looks like it's a cooler blue. I like this one better than Shinaai. There is still a tiny bit of sheen there, but not as much as Shinaai. And to me, when I write with it, it does look like it's a blue versus a really, really dark, almost, well, I mean, it is a blue-black with some red sheen. So anyway, Pilot Roshuku Sukio. Next, we have Robert Oster Fire and Ice. And I have had this ink for say a while now, and I apologize because I cannot remember who sent this to me. I feel like I've tried it once before, but I haven't been able to put it in a pen since then. Look at that. And I know Fire and Ice is a good favorite with a lot of people. Ooh, I almost dipped the wrong end there. And I remember hearing about this ink when I first started with fountain pens and inks, and I think I did end up trying it. I know that, or I feel like I remember seeing a video of Helen with Coffee Monsters Co. with this ink, and she really liked it. But I like the tone of this blue, and it leans a little bit more towards the teal turquoise, but I do like the fact that you can tell it's blue even in a fine or an extra fine nib. So, Robert Oster, Fire and Ice. Last few inks here, we have Roar and Klingner, Blue-Eyed Mary, another one sent to me by pen friend Cat, and I can always tell which ones are hers because they're so nicely labeled, and I love that. Oh, another good one, and I think, again, very similar to Robert Oster, Fire and Ice. One of the things that I am learning this year is that yes, the swatches can look different, especially when you're doing big swatches like that. But then when you're actually writing with it with a fine or extra fine nib, those differences don't stand out as much. So I'm trying to be really good about buying inks and trying not to duplicate or buy anything that's too similar to what I currently have. These two do look very similar, but you can tell this one is a little bit lighter. I think I prefer this one over Robert Oster Fire and Ice because this one has a little bit more sheen. This one is less, but also I just like that it's a little bit brighter. So Roar and Klingner, Blue-Eyed Mary. The next ink is Wearing Gold Atlas, and this one is a lovely shimmer ink. And I do like Wearing Gold shimmers. They seem to behave really, really well in my pens. And just look at that. That is lovely lighter blue. And the shimmer just makes it pop. So this is Wearing Gold Atlas. I love the blue greeny shimmer here. And I love that inks or creators, makers of ink, are going with different color shimmers rather than just your typical silver or gold. It just adds a second or extra dimension to the ink. So that is Wearing Gold Atlas. Next we have Monara Cruwell, which I won in a giveaway from Amario Stationery. And I was so happy that I won that. It was definitely a surprise, but I really like this blue. Just look at that again. It's kind of in that grayish blue tone that I really, really enjoy. But also this is so well behaved in a pen. So this is Monara Cruwell. And oh, so pretty. So pretty. It looks light in that line width swatch there, but it is actually really good in a fine or an extra fine nib. So Monara Cruwell. And last but not least, I debated whether or not to include this because it does lean more teal, but look at the swatch on the top. It looks blue, but I know that it's going to come out a little bit more teal, just even the way that you look at the sample. So this is Troublemaker Copper Patina. Now that I've done this with all of the blue inks and I also did all the green inks, I think I will do a teal and turquoise because now this looks more green, but similar in tone to Diamine Soft Mint and Blue Peppermint. But I feel like it's too blue to go all in the greens. But I don't know. I always have one or two that don't, oh my gosh, I cannot write, copper patina, that don't always fit the bill. But I think also the gold shimmer in here, it makes it lean more green than blue. So I don't know, maybe I need to look through all of my inks again to see if there's enough of my teals and turquoises to do a full video on them. But yeah, definitely leaning more green once it's paired up with all of these inks. So that is Troublemaker, Copper, Patina. So there are all of my blue inks. Definitely this row looks more teal turquoise. This actually looks more purple now that it's dried. That's kind of like a darker turquoise, and so is that one. And then this is definitely leaning more green. But out of all of these, I really like the lighter grayish blues, like blue suntan, Celadon Cat, and Storied blue. And I love that these two are next to each other, because if I bring that closer, you can see how similar they are. There's that pinky gray undertone to both of them, and even when you're writing with it, they look very, very similar. So if you're trying to decide between Ferris Press Storied Blue and Diamine Celadon Cat, I think the only thing that would make me recommend Diamine Celadon Cat is that I find that a little bit wetter in pens, therefore probably a little bit better for writing, especially with a fine or an extra fine nib. Then there's a whole bunch of shimmers in here that I like as well. Lights of Niagara, leaning more purple with the shimmer in there. And then, let's see, I really did like Wearing Ghoul Atlas. I had that in a pen last month. I really do like Anderillium Banded King Shoemaker Butterfly Blue. That really stands out as a good blue. But then, I don't know, like it's amazing to me how different blues can be, similar to the way that I did the greens last month. Like there's just so many greens. I'm really liking this series of going through all of my inks and seeing what I currently have. It helps me to try and narrow down what I have, because here I definitely have similarity. So I can probably give away Storied Blue. And then looking at Atlantic Blue, is that something I'll use? Probably not. And then Robert Oster Fire and Ice, very similar to Blue-Eyed Mary. I prefer Blue-Eyed Mary to Fire and Ice. So this helps me to narrow down what I currently have. These two actually look very similar, but again, Blue Peppermint has the shimmer, whereas Soft Mint does not. Okay, I could just sit here and talk about this all day, but I also need to stop talking because of my throat. All right, but that is it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you like this video, please let me know. And also, if you want me to do a teal and turquoise, even if it's only going to be maybe like 6 inks, let me know as well. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and have yourselves a great day.